welcome back viewers, welcome back to Axe 25 Cable Channel 9, and we are still at the waterfront here at the Hyatt Regency in Port of Spain, and we have just had a very interesting interview with Michael Hitchcock, and now we have the man himself. I would like to say my good buddy because we have been communicating for quite a while. Mark Snell. Mark, it's a pleasure again.
Oh, George.
It's a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yes, and Mark is a member of the PMI. That's the managing the Playbook Management International, the sports company that is in Trinidad and conducting the two-day workshop with the Pro League teams, coaches, and managers. Mark is a renowned academy coach. I need to emphasize on academy coach and also a football coach. Mark, first of all, tell me a bit about, before we go into all these details here, I mean the resume is very impressive.
Thank you.
We're not going to take a week to discuss it, we're going to take it in a nutshell. Tell me a bit about yourself, where you grew up, how it was like, how you got into football.
Well, that's pretty interesting because I grew up in the Buffalo, New York area, which is to the western part of the state. And as the Americans call it, soccer was not very big there. I grew up playing what we call sandlot. I lived across the street from an elementary school, so we played street hockey, which is the ice hockey, not the field hockey here, basketball with the neighbors, and American football in the lot. And I actually wanted to be my goal, I wanted to be a professional football receiver. I just had a very extraordinary knack, and it was very good with my hands. All the neighborhood were older kids, so I was always playing with kids 3, 4 years older in these pickup games. There was nothing organized back then. And the high school was a quarter of a mile down the street, and most of the guys played soccer. And they needed a manager, which in that day and age, a manager was, he brought the water out to the fields, and he collected the balls.
Actually, a water boy with a fancy name.
With a fancy name, that's right.
Yeah.
So they only had one goalkeeper on the team. So every day when they would scrimmage and practice, they'd throw me in the goal. And, I was, these guys were maybe 18 and I was 14, and they couldn't score on me. It was just one of those things. So that just evolved into me being a goalkeeper. We had a lot of success on my high school team. I was fortunate to be named an All-American, which that means you're considered the best in all of America. How they judge that, I have no idea, because there was no training. It was just you were nominated, this and that and the other thing. And I went on to play at Hartwood College, which were national champions when I was there in 1977. And my freshman year, we made it to the Final Four. Tremendous experience for me. I was the only freshman on the team. And I had a lot of national team players on the team and future professionals. So that's how I kind of got into football. I was blessed to have a college coach that was one of the top educators, Jim Lennox, and he was a national team coach as well. He had kind of encouraged me to go into coaching. So after my professional career, which was about 6 years, and at that time it was very difficult because the leagues were financially not stable, and I decided just to give it up, and I went back to Buffalo. There were no coaching opportunities at that time where you could actually make a living. So I was involved in business for a few years, and then it's one of those moments that everybody talks about. You look in the mirror one day and you say, I hate my life, I hate everything I'm doing. I basically dropped everything, called my college coach who was still there, and went down and mentored under him for 5 years. Which was the best education in football I ever had. And college football, which is, I should say university football, in the States is very regulated by the NCAA, to the point where the coaches are only allowed to coach and interact with the players about 20, 25 weeks. So I spent most of my time flying in recruiting. And I did a lot of recruiting. The college was in New York State, in Dallas, Texas. And I actually came here and recruited.
To Trinidad?
Yeah, I was in Trinidad, I was in Tobago. I had a friend that I met because we had a boy on our team that was a Trinidadian that was born in Trinidad, lived in Toronto, Canada. And I made contact with him and said, I think this boy might have some talent. I don't know your level. And he ended up starting on the U20 national team, I think in a tournament in Argentina, but they didn't advance. So we became good friends, and I came down, looked for players. And that was kind of the end of my stint at the college, and I decided, I didn't enjoy 9 months of just recruiting. I wanted to coach and make an impact. And all my trips to Dallas, which is 4 or 5 times a year for 5 years, I became acquainted with it, and it was an area where you could make a living and coach, and it was organized. I moved there, and literally 6 months later, FC Dallas, the pro team, did not have a youth club. I know it sounds strange. So what they did is they took over the club that I was at. So I was at FC Dallas a little over 8 years, and now I'm here.